This is Unlimited Access. My name is Levi Spires, and I'm with Shannon Ellsworth, founder and CEO of MyHealthHatch. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Levi. Thanks for having me.
Today, we're going to talk a little about the study, the NRC Health. We read this 2018 study that said women represent 80% of all healthcare purchasing decisions. And we ended up just kind of focusing a little bit on moms and the struggles that moms have and women in general. Can you just kind of briefly overview like what you think some of the biggest challenges for women are when it comes to being a caregiver?
It's a big question, and yeah, that's a really good, I've been studying a lot of the articles on caregiving and who tends to take on that role and what does that mean. I think men and women, we'll probably run a study on this, how they handle caregiving and the way they deal with it, just because men and women think differently. It's not much that's changed from men are from Mars and women are from Venus. We approach things a little bit differently. Women, obviously a little bit more nurturing and caring, and guys are more factual and get things done and action oriented. Not that women aren't, but there's just different ways they bring it to the table. And women owning 80% of the healthcare decisions is they are constantly making decisions in their family that are going to either improve the quality of life, keep quality of life, maintenance, especially moms. I don't have kids, but I have 4 sisters who have children at different stages. I have 14 nieces and nephews who are now starting to have their own kids. And then the women that I've worked with even now have their kids between the ages of 5 and 14 and really just starting to dig into that over the last few years as I try to balance my own life. How do people do that with children on board who are very dependent? It's very different. We say caregiving, we think about aging parents. They're pretty self-sufficient. They might fight a lot and they might not always know the best decision to make within the system. But as a parent, as a mom, you have to do everything for your child and make sure that they're healthy. And if you have a child who's sick, it just throws everything off a path. And my good friend just texted me today. She's trying to get records, and her daughter had a UTI. She had a kidney problem, and so she'll always have this kidney problem. And my friend, also has her own health issues in dealing with her parents and her other 2 children. So it's a lot of stress. It's just a lot of juggling, and the system makes it very difficult. Maybe in another conversation we talk about what the future of healthcare is predicting and how much more work that's going to be on a parent. But it's a lot of stress just juggling and how much time. She actually texted me. She said, thinking about you, I spent 2 hours today just trying to get some records in between my healthcare system locations, and they're all on one system. So, we talk about records a lot, but it's everything. It's scheduling, it's tracking down records, it's getting the medication, it's getting the specialist who can deal with your child. Or even if you don't, if you're healthy, you've got a healthy family, you still have to get them through immunizations and a lot of other things. So I think it's a stress level that is only getting worse on women. Mm-hmm. I think, I don't want to downgrade the stress on men as well, but they generally don't take on that role. That's why the 80% is they're making the purchasing decisions. And so that really comes down to a lot of juggling that makes it difficult, and then put on top of a lot of women are in the workplace now. So everything they've got to do to make sure that their family is healthy has to get done during work time. So they've got to juggle it in between breaks of doing work. So it's hard. It's a hard path.
What do you think are some of the ways to, outside of downloading and signing up for MyHealthHatch, what are some ways to actually manage that stress?
I think MyHealthHatch is just, that's not even a plug for MyHealthHatch, because we don't solve all the problems. There's so much more to it. We're solving one hole that we believe is time you'll get back to go do self-care. Like that's the big thing we've been talking about is, what's the story? What is the value that MyHealthHatch can give a parent? Is not, we're going to solve stress. What we're going to do is give you time back, mm-hmm. so that you can spend time doing self-care, making sure you're healthy, putting on your own oxygen mask. If you're not healthy, how do you take care of your children? How do you schedule appointments for yourself to make sure that you're ahead of your own health? How do you get that spa appointment in? How do you get to spend your weekend with your family and not just organizing bills and stuff like that? We can't solve all those problems. What our goal is in the long run is to have consolidation of those apps as a mom. Okay, when we get people on, tell us what other apps you'd like to see that will slowly give you more and more time back that's going to be quality of life for you, and that's when stress starts to come down.
Do you think that MyHealthHatch and the way we organize the app, I know you're saying it's not a plug, but being organized has to help with stress.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's one part. Like the hard part is if you look at, they say, so the statistics say a caregiver spends 24 hours a week doing caregiver duties, and that's split into 4 buckets. And we're handling one of those buckets, the administrative piece. Then there's 3 other buckets that I've got to pull up the numbers, but there's 3 other buckets that we don't address today. What we'd like to do is partner and bring those pieces together so you have one app. So we are organizing it in a really user-friendly manner, but you still have 4 buckets of things that are big as a caregiver that you have to take care of. And if you try to do that on only one app, you can't. It's too much. Technology isn't there yet. There are apps out there, but now you've got multiple apps. So now you've got to make sure that we're all user-friendly so that you have an effect. So yes, we can certainly help. The way we're organizing, we're not forcing you to go outside the app. We'll partner with those other things that match what you need. So as a mom, not everybody needs a financial tool. Not everybody needs their kids' Fitbit or tracking of their diet. What we'd like to do and what we've built is a platform that is customizable. So if you say, Levi, listen, I've got 3 kids, 2 girls, 1 boy, here's what I need for them, we can go mix and match those apps and pull those in for you. So ideally that lowers the stress. In the long run, it's going to lower the stress.
And that's a good thing. I think all of us on the consumer side it's overwhelming and it's daunting to really see what's going on in the health world, and we're all afraid of our own, that we're going to die one day and everything else, right? So health can be a very scary thing, and I think what we're doing with MyHealthHatch is really helping with that. Well, let's wrap today then, and I really appreciate that information. So
thank you so much.
MyHealthHatch is all about making sure your health info is in one place. We believe that people make better health decisions when they have access to everything, whether it be education, their records, it's all in one simple place. And we hope you have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye.